bread is for slender people. But fat people don't have no business with bread or a starchy potato, talk about just eating French fries or something like that. Nope. It's time to go to war with obesity, because in a few days we're gonna have to eat one meal every other day.
You ain't lying.
Every 3 days, and let the children eat once.
Yes, sir. Right, brother.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Thank you, brother.
Oh, thank you, brother. Thank you. So tone 40. Get this out of the way here. So the highest level of the scale contains the faculty of communicating completely and withholding nothing. Also, the ability to communicate with complete rational selectivity. Also, the ability to be conversationally creative and constructive. Now, who does that sound like in the nation?
Just like the minister.
Okay. At this high level of the scale, the individual is able to listen to everything which is said and evaluate it rationally. Who does that sound like?
Minister.
Brother Scott, who does that sound like?
Yes, sir. That's our minister, or clear.
And I only say that because you communicate with him correctly.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So you would know. He can listen to in-theta communications without becoming severely interpolated. Okay. He can receive ideas without making critical or derogatory comments. Well, we just saw that in the clip we watched with the minister when he handled that individual from the media, correct?
Yes, sir.
And in that believers meeting, where he was setting a demonstration on how he wanted the believers to be handled in his absence, where you had two people who could have been, handled much more harshly based on how they were engaged in their environment. And he was demonstrating for his executive council and for his student ministers how the believers should be handled. And I know from my space, and I know me and Sister Tina had talked about this once. I called him and I was like just putting all this in theta, right? Because these people had me just like ready to scream. And he received it, and he could have said, like, nigga, look, but he didn't. He handled me. And look, when he handled me, it wasn't that he was soft. Like, he put law down. There were certain areas, like if I was going to certain place, nope, we ain't going there, brother. Back here. And he would keep guiding you back to the straight path. Like, he does that. He guides you to the straight path. And if you accept that guidance, you will see the stuff fall off you and you will start growing. And anybody who's been blessed to experience him and just a conversation where you actually have his attention and he's looking at you, he's gonna always give you something to grow on. It ain't just gonna be, oh, salam alaikum. He gonna look, and because normally we gonna say something or do something that's really not appropriate, but we won't know it because we savage. We trying to grow into it. He just do the each person out.
We missed that last part, my brother Scott. You're fading in and out.
Way of correcting, the believers without being invalidating or nullifying. It always grows. But he'll say things, to let you know, and that's.
Did we just lose him?
I can't hear him.
I think we just.
I don't see him anymore.
Okay, he'll come back on. He'll come back on. Assalamu alaikum, brother Eric. I saw you just pop in.
Pop in again.
Okay, I'll keep it going. see who else. Brother Scott, you want to finish that thought, brother?
Yeah, the best way I can finish it is like this. The last conversation I was blessed to have with the minister, you know, and I put all this interbulated theta on the line. Because I mean, boy, we dealing with some straight Negroes out here, man, like with the CDC and the university, and they working to vaccinate the students, and we fighting with them. And anywho, I'm telling on everybody. And at the end of the call, after he had done his corrections, we were getting off, and my wife was on with me, and he said, "Sister Erica," and she said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Thank you for your patience. Salam alaikum," and hung up. And you know, it's just what happened. You know, it wasn't. It's not one of my great moments, but it was a real moment, and it was like, oh, okay, I just been, you know, you get the boat. Thank you, brother. Salam alaikum.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Let me get back. Okay. Okay. And while receiving another person's ideas, he can greatly aid that person's thinking and talking. Well, that was just covered by what Brother Scott just shared with us, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's tone 40. Does this describe, well, we already asked the question, does this describe the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan? Most definitely. Now, these key points, I want to parse this in these green highlighted areas. Communicate with complete rational selectivity, able to listen to everything, evaluate it rationally, listen to in theta communications without becoming severely interbulated. I believe that would be the same as when the minister says, or when it has been said that the minister, when he travels, he brings his own atmosphere with him, correct?
Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you have the ability to communicate. And in the Dianetics, you have what's called the communication formula. But now you have the ability to listen. That's actually an attribute, correct? One of the 99 attributes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The all-hearing in Arabic is al-sami', the all-hearing. But then you have the ability to evaluate. That's also an attribute called al-hasib, the reckoner. Okay. Listen without becoming interbulated. Listen without invalidating communication. It's pretty much everything that Brother Scott just shared with us about his communication, which is why I was trying to get him to, you know, share his conversation, because it adds a lot of mass to what we're talking about, correct? I remember some of the things that Brother Scott had shared with me, and I'm like, man, that's just beautiful, skillful communication, correct? Okay. Listen without inhibiting communication. These are the characteristics of an auditor, are they not?
Yes, sir.
But they're also the characteristics of God, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what's the relationship between tone 40 and Islam? Now in Arabic, now this comes from a book called The Religion of Islam. And it says that the word kalam, speaking, is an attribute of the divine being. It is thus one of the basic principles of Islam that God speaks as he hears and sees. It has been said that God is never spoken of in the Qur'an as mutakalim or kalim. That is one who speaks. Now the attribute kalam of the divine being is mentioned frequently in the Quran. God spoke to Moses. That's ayat number 4. Surah 4, ayat 164, and Surah 7, ayat 143. He spoke to other prophets. Surah 2, ayat 253. He speaks to those who are not prophets. Surah 42, ayat 51. So the key thing here is Allah does not just speak to prophets. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
In other words, Allah has the ability to speak to all of us, correct?
Oh, sure.
That's right.
Okay. This leaves no doubt that speaking is an attribute of God according to the Qur'an, just as seeing and hearing are his attributes. Religion of Islam, page 163. Any thoughts on that before we go forward? Okay.
Hmm.
Allah has the ability to speak to all of us, and I'm a firm believer that Allah does speak to all of us. It's just that either we are not listening, we are not hearing, or we are not responding. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can we say that tone 40 in the Dianetic text is equivalent to Al-Kalim, the best speaker?
Hmm. Yes, sir.
Now, if you look at the
Brother Luke,
go ahead.
can I ask you something?
Yes, ma'am, of course.
Did you ever say did you ever say that which you had from Science of Survival? I don't remember hearing it. You said you had something
Oh, I'm about to get
and
to it.
you had asked the question, is anyone else? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That's where I'm going. I got you got I gotta set I gotta set it up and then I'm gonna deliver it. I'm trying to connect all the dots
Okay,
first.
yes, sir.
That's okay.
Okay.
Okay. So when you look at the Hilbert chart of human evaluation from Science of Survival, if you go across the top where it says tone 40, all those characteristics are characteristics of Allah. They are synonymous with the 99 attributes of Allah. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, unless you've had a chance to look at the Hubbard chart of human evaluations, you won't be able to understand it. But in Science of Survival, and there's another chart called the Chart of Attitudes, and I think that's the Handbook for Pre-Clears as well as self-analysis. There's another
Yes.
chart. That chart has what's called 12 buttons on it. Does that make sense? There's 12
Okay.
characteristics, I
Yes,
think.
sir.
All 12 of those are equivalent to the attributes of Allah. So the higher tones are describing Allah. They are equivalent to. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when you look at here's column K from the chart of human evaluations. And if you look at the top, it says strong, able, swift, and full of exchange of beliefs and ideas. But column K is talking about talks, but it's also talking about listening, correct?
Yes, sir.
Isn't that describing the minister?
Definitely.
Isn't that describing the Most High Elijah Muhammad?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but but there's something interesting here, and I've missed this until just recently. Now, if tone 40 represents strong, able, swift, and full exchange of beliefs and ideas, wouldn't that be in agreement with the 5%?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It says the
Mm.
5% teach freedom, justice, and equality to all the human family of the planet Earth. Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Isn't that the same as strong, able, swift, and full exchange of beliefs and ideas? Because if we're talking to all of the human family of the planet Earth, that means we're talking to the black, the brown, the red, the yellow, and the white, correct?
Yes, sir.
And we know the brown represents the Japanese, correct?
Yes, sir.
The red represents the so-called Native American, correct?
Yes, sir.
The yellow represents the Chinese. And then the white represents the Caucasian, correct?
Yes, sir.
So in order to teach knowledge, wisdom, understanding, culture, the science of everything in life, in order to teach those concepts, doesn't one have to have an understanding of the black, the brown, the red, the yellow, and the white?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Brother Eric, yesterday on your Zoom meeting, the brother said one of the main things one of the pieces of advice he gave based on his living in China, he said if you decide to travel to any country, make sure you know something about their history, right, Brother Eric?
Did it? Yes, sir. Correct.
Yeah. So if we're traveling, we need to know something about the culture in which we're going to, and not expect to bring we bring ourselves over there, but we have to have a certain level of knowledge and respect for the culture in which we're going to, correct?
Alhamdulillah.
Okay.
Mhm.
If we're to teach the science of everything in life, that seems to me would be the upper level of column K, correct?
Mhm. Yes, sir.
But now what does the K in column K stand for?
Knowledge.
It could be. I thought since we were talking about Al Kaleem, the best speaker, to me, the K represents Kaleem. I said that here's another coincidence.
Mm.
Here you have K, column K representing the highest tone level of speaking. And here we have the attribute Al Kaleem, meaning the best speaker.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Maybe it's a coincidence. But we know what?
Because yes, sir. What about Khalifa as well? Because we're
So we
supposed
say
to be
Khalifa too.
Khalifa.
So the Holy Quran and the tone scale. L. Ron Hubbard says on page 99, and the reason why I remember page 99 is because there's 99 attributes. Probably the most accurate index for the audit of the pre-quiz position on the tone scale is speech, correct? For those that have studied sciences of the Bible, you'll find this under the chapter dealing with column K. In the Holy Quran, it says, and if we please, we could show them to thee so that thou shouldst know them by their marks, and certainly thou canst recognize them by the tone of their speech. And Allah knows your deeds. So here the science of survival and the Holy Quran are actually in agreement, correct? And for those that don't know, L. Ron Hubbard did study the Holy Quran. That's one of the books that is in his library. And if you're involved in the ministry, the volunteer ministry of the Church of Scientology, on there, I believe from what the way I remember it, because the church is big on check sheets, right? You have to study certain things and then mark it off on okay. On the check sheet,
Yes.
The Holy Quran, I believe, based on how it was explained to me, that's part of being involved in the ministry. You have to have an understanding of the Holy Quran. Okay. But now in this ayat, Surah 47, ayat 30, there's some interesting things here that actually, again, line up exactly with Dianetic auditing. So we say, and if we please, we could show them to thee so that thou shouldst know them by their marks. And now a key word here, and I remember Sister Tina, this was a ridge that we had to clear this word, and then it made sense. And certainly thou canst. The word canst is an old word that actually means can, C-A-N.
Yes.
If you clear the word can't, it doesn't mean cannot. It doesn't mean cannot, it means can. And certainly thou can recognize them by the tone of their speech. And Allah knows your deeds.
Go ahead.
So if you look at it as a cycle of action, and this is going to follow, this follows processing to the T, and it is in harmony with this ayat. So we possess marks. And the Arabic word for marks is sound. And in Arabic, it means a force imposed upon us that coerces us to do certain things. Now, do we all have marks?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we all have marks, correct? Okay.
Sir.
From this perspective of the tech, you have circuits, you have ARC breaks, and you have valences. And from the perspective of the Holy Quran, you have whispering devils, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
brother.
So we can show them to thee, so thou shouldst know them by the marks. So what they're saying, what we're being told is, you're going to know the force that's imposed upon someone that's coercing them to do certain things by what? By recognizing their marks. If the auditor can recognize the marks, then it reveals what is hidden within the PC, correct?
Yes, sir.
If you can recognize the force, if you can recognize the engrammic command, if you can recognize the circuit, if you can recognize the ARC break, by recognizing the mark, then you will know them, correct?
Yes.
And the them could be their valences. It could be the personalities that are on their time track in their engram. How? You will know them by their marks. Does this all make sense?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So the marks are revealed through their tone of speech.
Mm-hmm.
So when you listen to someone speak, if they're speaking high tone language, then you know they're 3.0 and above, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
If
sir.
they're postulating, if they're talking about present and future, what if they're speaking past, present, and future tense being perfect, as our 13 rules of instruction say. If a person is speaking in the perfect tense, past perfect tense being, these are the things I accomplished yesterday. Present perfect tense is what I'm accomplishing today, and future perfect tense is what I will accomplish tomorrow. Those are my postulates, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the original man postulates on cycles of 25,000 years in advance, correct?
Yes, sir.
He's speaking future tense in 25,000 year cycles. So when someone has that ability, what kind of tone would that individual or that group of people, what kind of tone would they have where they can speak about things 25,000 years in advance?
Think about that.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
That's
Yes, sir.
well above tone
Um,
4, correct?
Yes, sir.
You know what that tone is.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
In the Atonement Office, Reverend Bevel used to call that the living act of now.
The living act of now.
The living active now.
Living act.
Because even those brothers that are postulating and they're speaking 25,000 years in advance, that's as if it is in the present.
Mm-hmm.
So they're speaking 25,000 years in present tense, you know, but properly, this will happen and that will happen and the other will happen. Yeah, it's profound.
Mm-hmm. The way L. Ron Hubbard explained it, he says, and we look at it from the perspective of you speak as cause now to produce an effect. He says the way you do it is you speak about the future as the cause and you make the present the effect. You project your cause into the future and your effect is now, and that is controlled by the cause you projected into the future. That was one of the ways he explained it. Go ahead, Sister Tina.
Yes, sir. When you were just talking about future, it just reminded me where I am in my course study. I'm on column H, Sonic, and I'm L. Ron Hubbard is talking about processing, and he says that the running of future pleasure moments sometimes tunes up the perceptives, you know.
Speaking about what pleasure
He
moment?
says future
Future pleasure moments. Yes.
future pleasure moments. He
Mhm.
said, mhm. He said, these are actually imaginary incidents
Mhm.
so far as can be told. The tone of the individual goes up when running moments of pleasure. And so when moments of pleasure existing in the past are run, or when moments of pleasure in the future are imagined,
Mhm.
the tone of any individual may be expected to rise.
Mhm.
And these are things that I plan on doing for myself, because this can help, the sonic, you know.
Mhm.
And so it made me think about the whole.
Oh, did we just lose Sister Tina?
Yes, we did.
She'll be back on.
We got some solar flares popping off or something this evening.
No, just high-powered believers. Blowing up the Zoom.
You know,
Allahu Akbar.
Deal, Sister Tina. Okay, go ahead, finish your thought.
yeah, those
We have a bad connection.
going to start that. But when you said what you said, it just reminded me of where I am in the study.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I remember that.
Was that coming through okay, or was I breaking up?
You're breaking up a little bit, but you sound fine now.
Okay, yes, sir.
Okay. So would you say a future pleasure moment, could that also be a postulate?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Could it be speaking a future perfect tense?
God willing.
Okay.
Being in the garden on couches raised, hopefully.
Okay. But look at how your
Yes,
tone just
sir.
went up just talking about it, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So then is it safe to say that talking about a future pleasure moment, mocking up a future pleasure moment, postulating or speaking future perfect tense, that's the same as saying kun faya kun, correct? That's the same as saying be and it is?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's your
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's your intention.
Okay.
Sister Tina.
Intention. There you go.
Intention. So now if you look at this ayat, so the marks are revealed. The forces imposed upon us from within us are revealed through our language. Tone level 3.0 and above is talking about accomplishing and doing, in other words, being, doing, and having, correct? When you speak
Yes, sir.
the opposite or against being, doing, and having, now you're at 2.0 down to 1.1, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
And then when you speak about,
Can be. Yeah,
okay.
can be.
And then when you're 1.0 and below, then you're nullifying that speech. I can't be, I can't do, and I can't have. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes, sir.
And the minister said that when Allah created himself with triple darkness, he removed I can't, correct?
Destroying possibility.
Yes, sir.
So to be shown the inner part of an individual's mind and to recognize the outward manifestation is done through the supreme technology, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So can we say that ayat Surah 47, ayat 30, if it's in harmony with auditing, I mean, what other method has Allah given to see the inner part of an individual? I haven't found any other method that's on the market that's being used to help an individual deal with their aberrated mind. Does that kind of make sense?
When you ask what other method has Allah given to see
Mm-hmm.
the
Yes,
inner
sir.
part of an individual,
Mhm.
are you asking that just in relationship to processing, like Dianetic processing, or are
Right.
you asking in totality?
Because we know the teachings work.
Right.
We know the teachings work because we have the minister.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm saying outside of what we already have, we have the tech. There's nothing else that I can see in the colleges or in the schools or whatnot that compares to the tech. Because remember, and this is just my personal opinion, the tech is to us as malware software is to a computer. The malware software is used to remove the malware and the viruses from the computer so the computer operating system and programs can operate correctly. Does that make sense?
Sir, I do want to say one thing.
Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir.
When you said that we know the teachings work because we have the minister,
Mm-hmm.
um, I would expand that.
Okay, yes, sir.
Because yes, we do have the minister. And in 1978, he destroyed impossibility.
Yes, sir.
He was brought back to life. He was
Yes, sir.
resurrected after having lived and died and was brought back to life.
Mm-hmm.
But then he called us to life.
Yes, sir.
And when you go back and you look at those VHS tapes, you know, and lectures from 78, 79,
Go
warning
ahead.
to the hypocrites and
Mm-hmm.
all of those things, this beautiful being, and he's young.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see in the beginning, he wasn't full, like his certainty was that he was going to do this. He was going to bring back the remembrance of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He was going to bring back his vision, but he wasn't clear all over.
Mm-hmm.
But his faith
Mm-hmm.
took him all the way, and he began calling us. And our living, you know, being invited to life is a bearing a witness of him and his work. So, like when we see you doing what you doing here, you're a student of Minister Farrakhan.
Yes,
So
sir.
here you come applying like this supreme wisdom to the supreme technology, and you are uncovering stuff that I've never seen anywhere else. You know, so I just wanted to make sure we expand that. Yes, we know the teachings work because of the minister, you know, but we also know they work because of his work with us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I agree with you 1000%, bro. Thank you, Brother Scott. So those circuits, circuits represent internal ARC breaks, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
And then you have what's called enforced, and you have inhibited. So when you look at enforced ARC, you could be looking at 2.0 down to 1.1, correct?
Mhm. Yes, sir.
And then when you deal with inhibited ARC, you could be looking at 1.0 and below.
Hmm.
Now, can we find corresponding points between the tone scale and the Holy Quran? Well, of course we can, because Allah says in the Holy Quran, He's given us a book explaining all things, correct?
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
So if you look at tone 40, in the Holy Quran, it says in Surah 42, ayah 51, it says, and it is not vouchsafed to a mortal that Allah should speak to him except by revelation or from behind a veil, or by sending a messenger and revealing by his permission what he pleases. Surely he is high and wise. Well, let's clear this word vouchsafe, because we probably have never seen this word before outside. I've never seen this word outside the Holy Quran. The word vouchsafe means to grant or to provide as a privilege or special favor. So now, if we look at this verse as an equation, let's use the word grant and input it where it says vouchsafe. So then it would read, and it is not granted to a mortal that Allah should speak to him except by. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So
Yes, sir.
Allah does speak to us, but there's a way in which he speaks. He speaks from behind a veil, or he sends a messenger, correct? Or he speaks by revelation, yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So he communicates with humanity in many ways, through revelation, from behind a veil, sending a messenger, and based on what the minister has taught us, he speaks through formula. And no matter how much I go through these doggone PowerPoints, there's always one that sneaks through. So that's supposed to be formula. Okay. Does that all make sense?
Mhm. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, from behind a veil would mean how many of us have ever experienced where we're just looking at something, we're reading something in a book, and then we see something behind what we're looking at, and something clicks in our mind that we didn't see before. Does that ever happen?
Mhm. Yes, sir.
Okay, that's from behind the veil. So if you look at tone 3.5, in Science and Survival, it says, at the level of 3.5, the individual is capable of communicating deeply felt beliefs and ideas to others and can communicate with others selectively, but he is apt to become interpolated slightly if given in theta conversation. Now, is this in the Holy Quran anywhere? And indeed, he has revealed to you in the book that when you hear Allah's message disbelieved in and mocked at, sit not with them until they enter into some other discourse, for then indeed you would be like them.
Mhm.
Is there agreement there?
Yes, sir.
So you would become like them, right? So if people are talking a certain way, and if we sit amongst them, we might get sucked into that conversation. I know that's happened to me. Has it happened to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when thou seest those who talk nonsense about our messages, withdraw from them until they enter into, that's supposed to be some other discourse. And if the devil cause thee to forget, then sit not after recollection with the unjust people. So in other words, if we sit amongst interpolated people for a certain amount of time, we could be pulled into that conversation and become interpolated ourselves, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So at 3.0, the speech of the individual becomes more casual and reserved. Here is the level of small talk about weather and good roads. At this level, the individual has a resistance toward ideas which are too massive. Go ahead, Sister Peggy.
Okay, so this morning, our student minister was talking about hypocrisy, and that's what hypocrisy seems like. You sit among people, or you're around people that really don't believe, and sooner or later, if you are at a really low tone, you will become just like them.
Yes, ma'am. That's exactly right. Thank you for that one. So here we have 3.0 small talk about the weather and who's, you know, who's going to make it into the playoffs and best rapper and, you know, conversation that really has no substance. It's like potato salad with raisins. It's like you don't even want it. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Ew.
So now where is this in the Holy Quran? And of men is he who takes instead frivolous discourse to lead astray from Allah's path without knowledge. Well, the word frivolous means of little weight or importance, and discourse means verbal exchange of ideas. We're talking about lightweight ideas. You know, who's going to win the Super Bowl? And this cracks me up every year, you know, at work. If we happen to work on Sunday, yeah, we do sit and watch the game. But but individuals who are rooting for the team that wins, they say we won. I always say, well, are you getting a check in the mail? Have you won? Because you're not getting anything for the win. I know the ones on the team get a ring. Are you getting a ring? Well, you didn't win.
Hmm.
So we get caught up, and then the minister explained it to us that if you look at every, sports is when one season ends, another season begins of a different sport, correct?
Yes, sir.
That's
And
right.
it's like,
Brother Luke, mine.
go ahead, Brother Scott.
Two things. One, in relationship to what Sister Peggy was just saying. When I first, I got my ex while I was at school. I was in at Alabama A&M. Then I went home to Chicago, and some Muslims opened up a restaurant down the street from my house. It was called the Shabazz Sweet Shop. And I went in there and I gave him the greetings. The brother had a bow tie on, the sister had her hair covered. And she, at the time I was done with, man, sugar, you had me with sugar. And this sister made carrot cake with pineapple. I mean, that stuff was good. And so I went in, I brought the carrot cake and the salmon sandwich, and it was like, I was a single brother. It was like, this gonna be my spot. And I, like, maybe the second or third time I came over, that's when they started dropping, on the minister. And it hurt my feelings. I had to leave that carrot cake and them sandwiches alone, because it's like I can't shop with you, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you should have just kept it to yourself. We could have did business, but when they came out, it was just I had to leave. And this next one on Tone 3.0, this really resonates with me because we're talking disaster preparedness in the community. We're handing out stuff, emergency preparedness, crisis management. And sometimes I try to talk to family. They be like, man, you told us, we know. And then they'll go right from there to talking about, who this team should be picking up, why they should grab this player. And I'd be sitting there and be like, bro, no, we got an app. A lot of my cousins and my brother, and we got an app, and we be on this app, and I drop in, drop some stuff, and I listen to the response, and it just, yeah, we get you, Scott. I understand, but listen, the Bulls need to pick up so and so, such and such. Do you see how he hit from the 3-point line? And it'd be like, dog, y'all don't know. Do you know what it means to have a universal famine? That means there won't be no food nowhere. So what are the conditions that will cause it to be no food nowhere? But that idea is too massive. So I'm trying to figure out how I can come to spark something that will make people who are kind of under the weight of the oppression of engrams and lies and injuries and illnesses, to make them start to move towards, storing up a little something, putting something aside, and preparing for the inevitable. That's right now, that's a big challenge. And anybody got any advice on that stuff, man, drop it on your brother, straight up. It's ugly.
It sounds like when it says in the Holy Quran, it says, when the flood came, Noah's son said, I will betake myself to the mountain. And then a wave intervened in between them and he was drowned. It's interesting because when you do word clearing on the word wave, and you do word clearing on the word drowned, the word wave is describing also what takes place on an emotional level, meaning something will come up that will separate you from individuals. It's an emotional state. And drowned in Arabic also means to be overcome by emotion. So here we have the mountains of, it's like when the minister has taught us in the study guides that Pharaoh will call all the skillful enchanters. Does that make sense? And the skillful enchanters in the modern time is who? Social media. To me, it's social media. influencers.
Did you see where the Pope
Mhm.
just called all of the comedians? Not all. Chris Rock and what's the girl name? Whoopi Goldberg and
Yeah,
Jimmy Fallon.
I read that, brother. I'm trying to figure it out. What the hell is that?
Those are the funny influencers.
So now they're gonna start
Stephen
putting stuff in
Colbert.
their stand up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Skillful
stuff is
enchanters, brother.
escalating. I think they got to have something in their material, and for them to be called out and it to be out in the open is really deep.
Skillful enchanters.
Allahu Akbar.
Sister Tina, and then Brother Wadu.
I just wanted to offer something. If Sister Erica, and no one has thought of it yet, you know how you do the movies and show different, I forgot what you call it, Brother Scott, but you show different movies and stuff.
Jubilee Film Festival.
Show the Jubilee Film Festival, show movies about Katrina and disasters that have taken place, and movies regarding famine. That's because we're visual people, and I remember the minister saying that the bones won't come together, the bones won't move. It has to do with until the winds blow on us, until the winds
Right.
blow. So if we show movies about the winds blowing on folks.
Sounds like an idea, Scott.
Sir?
Sounds like an idea of a way to get people involved in get them called into a movie or a gathering, and then present information and show them that this is about to happen here. Let them see
Yes,
it.
she is. Go ahead, Sister Tina.
Yes, sir. All praises due to Allah. Yes, sir.
This is why I messes with you, Tina, and Kaka Muhammad. And you know, the nation actually produced
Go
a
ahead.
news expose on Katrina. When the minister went down there and they went doing, I don't know how many people have ever saw it. We showed it at one of our film festivals with the World Friendship Tour. But you absolutely, because there are believers who went through that, and they have some testimonies that will blow people's minds. One brother, the way he saved his family, he had an air mattress. He floated his children out on the air mattress, and while they were walking, they saw babies floating in the water. You know, it's like what's going on in Gaza will be coming here. Our minister told us, and that's a massive thought. That's a massive flow to try to wrap your mind around. So, Sister Tina, thank you. We had talked about something along those lines, but you just reinforced it. So I'm giving you free tickets, front row seats to the Jubilee Film Festival.
All right, now I'm going to hold you to that.
Oh,
Thank you.
No problem, beloved.
So Brother Scott's giving you front row tickets to a Zoom meeting.
No. We be having in person
All
with
right.
the film
That's
festival.
right.
I will bring you down now.
Wow. All right.
Brother Wadu.
Assalamu alaikum again. I thank Allah that while I'm traveling and I've reached a point where I was able to pull off and have something to say at the same moment that I'm not on the road.
Sir.
And this is to Brother Scott's question, and it ties with some things that were brought out probably before I saw Brother Scott enter into the room this evening, where you, Brother Lukeman, spoke on the scientists speaking in formula. And during that discussion, the word concept was mentioned and was in my mind, because a formula is something that can be applied across multiple tiers, TIERS, tiers of different activities. And so, to answer Brother Scott's question from my perspective, I deal with a lot of entitled people that I teach virtually student doctors how to pass their licensing exam. And so the tone, I'm able to detect their tone when they turn on the camera and see this black man sitting across from them about to teach them their medical knowledge. Who is this to be able to teach me, who wants to be an orthopedic surgeon, what I need to know to pass my licensing exam? So what I do though is I let them know that medicine wasn't always complicated. It started out very simply and commonly. People have had illnesses and sicknesses from antiquity. So I give them very raw and plain descriptions of things. So make it simple for whoever you're talking to. I tell these highfalutin uh, uh, future physicians, you know, if a child came in with a stomach ache and we did a medical history and asked about what he ate and how much he drank, and he only eats steak and potatoes and only drinks milk, and he hasn't gone to the bathroom in 3 days, I don't say he has ulcerative colitis or celiac disease or Crohn's disease. I say he's constipated. And then we go from there. But it's real simple to begin with. And then if we need to go complex, we can. So make it simple to whoever you're speaking to, put it in their own language. Assalamu alaikum.
Sir.
Thank you, beloved.
Yes, sir, brother.
Love.
Brother Eric.
Alhamdulillah, brother, what dude you are on the dot. Because the brother's question also proved that he was speaking at too steep a gradient to the person that he is talking to. So he's speaking above the head. We have to remember we are in the process of the resurrection of the dead. The dead cannot hear, they cannot see, they cannot smell, they have no emotion at all. And that's why they put it at the 0.0. And if you come all the way to the 2.0, 3.0, you're definitely not in their reality, because you are exercising your reality, but not theirs. And that's why, as an auditor, also when you are auditing, you're not trying to say I'm auditing you to clear. You are trying to bring the PC up tone. And according to Elron Abad, you got to bring it 1 or 2 tones higher than where it's at. See? So this is the whole thing, because sometimes we are frustrated because we see something very clear, very obvious, and we're speaking English to them and they're understanding English, but they cannot understand what you're saying. Why? Because emotionally they're dead. So now we have to address the emotion side. And that's why as auditor, you're not just trying to listen, you are observing also the tone of that person, the tone scale. That means, what is his tone level? Is he cheerful? Is he downward or whatever? So now once you can pinpoint the emotional level, now you have a chance to be able to communicate. And I believe I heard Brother Lukman talking about communication, the art of communication earlier. Because I cannot just decide to communicate with you when you have no affinity with me. Or there is no reality between you and I. So now we have to create a point where we can agree on something.
Yes, sir.
And now it is easier to communicate. That's
Thank
what
you for that, brother Eric.
Welcome, sir.
Love. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, tone 2.4, 2.5 to 2.0. So here we have, he says on page 101, between 2.5 and 2.0, we have a level where communication from other people is refused and where one does not talk.
Yep.
So in the Holy Quran, it says, and those who disbelieve say, listen not to this Quran, but make noise therein. Perhaps you may overcome. And does not talk, it says, that day we shall seal their mouths, correct? When you go to tone 2.0, it says at 2.0, we reach a level of antagonistic conversation. Now, let me just say this real quick. I could pull up many ayats that would support each one of these tone levels, but we would be here for another hour. So I just dropped one or two, but there's many, many ayats that have ARC with the statements in Science of Survival and are in harmony with the tone levels on the tone scale, okay? At 2.0, we reach a level of antagonistic conversation. The individual is apt to nag or to make derogatory comments to invalidate other people. On this level, the individual can only be roused by nagging, nasty cracks, invalidations, and other antagonistic communication. Now, where is this in the Holy Quran? Well, if you read the surah, I think it's 111, Abu Lahab. Abu Lahab in Arabic means father of flame. And it talks about Abu Lahab and his wife. She was the bearer of slander. Abu Lahab was the uncle of Prophet Muhammad. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
And if you read the footnote, nope, that's going to be the next one. In this one, but it actually is an agreement with Abu Lahab. But in this one, it is the devil who only frightens his friends. So the devil invalidates, correct? Okay. At 1.5, we have a shutting off of other person's person's conversation, a complete refusal to listen, and efforts to destroy incoming conversation. So when you look at the footnote, it says, it is related that the Holy Prophet, being commanded to warn his near relatives, called them together and delivered the divine message, at which Abdel-Uzza cried out, mayest thou perish? Was it for this that thou didst summon us? So every time the prophet would go and teach, his uncle would come behind him and try to disrupt what he was saying. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
That's tone 1.5.
Y'all remember when the minister told us to go out and speak to our families about the destruction that was coming? It's a few years back. He enjoined all of us, he enjoined the nation, people, said, go to your relatives, go to your family, hail them, warn them. Wow.
Yes, sir. At 1.1, we have lying to avoid real communication. It takes the form of pretended agreement, flattery, verbal appeasement, or simply a false picture of the person's feelings and ideas, a false facade, or an artificial personality. In the Holy Quran, it says it like this: in their hearts is a disease, so Allah increased the disease, and for them is a painful chastisement because they lie. With regards to pretended agreement, Surah 14, ayat 22 says, surely Allah promised you a promise of truth, and I promised you, then failed you. Isn't that what Iblis says, or the devil says?
Yes, sir.
Okay. O you who believe, avoid most of suspicion. For sure, suspicion is some cases is sin. And spy not, nor let some of you backbite others. Does one of you like to eat the flesh of his dead brother? If you read page 101 to 102 of Science of Survival with regards to this tone level, it talks about gossip and slandering. Okay. So when an individual is gossip or involved in gossip and slander, that reveals the tone level. So you see how we can listen to the tone of speech, and then we know where a person is on the tone scale?
Yes,
Does
sir.
that make sense? Okay, so quick summary.
Yes, sir.
The Holy Quran and the Supreme Technology agree on the importance of speech. Can we agree on that?
Yes, sir.
It is through an understanding of the communication cycle and communication formula that one can discern the inner workings of an individual's mind. our use of speech reveals our tone level. I mean, that is totally what we've been talking about. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the best example amongst us right now of proper speech. Can we agree to that one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The
So
tone scale is an indexed representation of the wisdom of the Holy Quran, meaning the tone scale is giving a numerical organization on a gradient level that agrees with the ayats of the Holy Quran. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Questions, comments, thoughts, suggestions, cognitions, or corrections? Let me look at the comments real quick. Okay. But Eric put in here tone 40 auditing. Positive knowing, predictable control toward the pre-clear's willingness to be at cause concerning his body and his attention. That is what we're learning through the SRD right now. It's called level 5 indoctrination. It's how to maintain tone 40 while handling, controlling, and there's another C in there, I can't remember. Controlling, handling a pre-clear. In other words, when someone talks smack to you, you have to maintain a high level tone and respond to them without dropping down tone level. Does that make sense?
all right.
Okay. Okay. Praise be to Allah. All right. Anything before we call it a night, family? Any thoughts, questions, concerns, comments? Sister Anya, awfully quiet over there.
Hey, go ahead.
Can't let you just go by without saying anything, Sister Anya.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
All I have to say is I'm waiting anxiously for the recording, and I'll put my email in the chat so that you can, I would be very happy if you would send the PowerPoint.
Anyone who wants the PowerPoint, put your email in the chat. Did you get the PowerPoint